Okay, and hello everyone, and thanks for listening in to another episode of Checking In on Your Daily Walk. In this show, I plan to chat to members of the church and see how they are doing. We will be hearing personal testimonies of how God has affected our lives and get to know each other a little better. Today, I will be checking in on a French national. It is our lovely Valerie Saunders. How are you doing, Valerie?
I'm good, Charlie. I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me on on your little show. So, well, things are now. It's almost the end of lockdown, I shall say, as we've known it, and things were quite difficult to start with.
Yeah.
It's seeing friends and not going to work, changing all your routines and everything. That was quite a challenge, and I'm glad I've got God in my life, I think, because without God, I wouldn't have been able to support all the challenging and rise to them and everything, because I think when you are isolated, it can be really tough. It's yes, you've got the communication via Zoom or via internet, but it's not the same thing. You can't physically touch people. Or in France, we all touchy. We always give kisses and everything, and big hug. And so that's a really big part. I miss that, I must say.
So, what has God spoken to you about during this time?
Well, there is one verse which actually stuck with me. It's 2 Corinthians, verse 12, 2 Corinthians 12:10, I think you say in English, which is, "That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in wickedness, in insult, in hardship, in persecution, in difficulties, for when I am weak, then I am strong." And this, that was really my go-to verse in terms of knowing that it's not with my strength, that God's got his own strength and is supporting me. And it's a wonderful feeling, to know that you can rely on God and he can be your rock, and that, it's got his arm around you, and that for me, that's really, that really helped me and carrying me about during that time.
Oh no, that is a lovely verse, especially I think when you think about how it's in difficulty. So it's yes, persecution, but when you're in hardship and in difficulties, I think a lot of people have been finding the lockdown part, as you say, as a difficulty, and to think that, yeah, you can actually, he's still there even in those difficult times, and he is that rock that we can rely on.
Yeah. And I think, my time with God, for me, when I first was a Christian, God was somebody you have to fear. Okay.
Okay.
From I was raised with a Catholic background, and the punishment of God was really something you must fear, and therefore you had to do stuff. So for me, God wasn't. They were not that caring and that loving, and the kindness of God. And through that lockdown and everything, as I moved through my faith, I have learned that, how God cherishes us as individual and love us. And it's kind of revelation, as the more you pray and the more you can have answers to prayers. And I think I'm getting bolder, with all what I do.
Okay, so why do you think you're getting bolder?
Because I've got this, I don't have anymore this fear of, of the power of, even if I know, you need to fear his power,
Mm.
I think I see him more as a comforter, as a healer, as as a rock, as a father. Therefore, um, it's just, the fairness and the fair is is just gone, and I enjoy and I delight in the time I've got with him. And and sometimes it's like when we were at West Point, where I couldn't sleep all night. And normally when I can't sleep is because I don't feel good, but this time it was, where I had some prophetic words, so which never tend to happen to me. But there was just uh, when I told Andy, it was just wow, yeah, okay.
Do you remember what the prophetic word was?
It was about the church, the field hospital, and it
Okay.
was that we had to have the church had to care for people emotionally, um, physically, and spiritually. So there were three sides, that you couldn't. If one of them was missing, then you couldn't actually reach to being able to understand God and being able to reach to Him. If one of them were, if you were lacking. So yeah.
Okay, I mean that's quite cool, and if especially I think if you think about it during lockdown in this context, I mean a lot of people are struggling emotionally, and you've obviously got the physicality of the virus itself, and then you've got spiritually. I've been feeling lately, only in the last couple of weeks or so, a bit of a disconnect from God, not through anything particularly. It's just like when I'm praying to him, it's been a little bit, or like church on Sunday, it's very weird doing it in my room, not being surrounded by everyone, and I'm been feeling a little bit of a disconnect with him recently there spiritually. And it's quite interesting, I think, that it is those three sides, as you say, and you need to have those three in order to really connect with God. And I've been seeing that like the last couple weeks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been
Yeah. For me, where I was really, really, really pleased with church is that, as much you think, I've got lots of friends which are non-Christian, and they think that church is boring and church is this and people are old, and, and traditionalist and you name it, and so on and so forth.
mm,
And, when I do say to them, well, actually, when I go to church, and you go to church, I'm just thinking, yeah, why? Well, no, you're quite fun, I'm just thinking, well, yeah, well. And the fact that, everything was on Zoom for
mm,
church, then I was able to share. And some of my friends actually listen, and they say, oh, your church is great and stuff. And some of them, by the action, for example, where I took part in, I gave stuff to people during lockdown and things. And I said, it's, and they say, oh, well, thank you. But why? And I said, well, I just care. It's what being a Christian is. You care for other people. Oh, and seeing that they actually listen to church on a Sunday morning. So, yeah.
yeah. Well, this thing, because I have this conversation or a similar conversation with my work colleagues, so they all know that I go to church a couple times a week, and they're like, oh, so how's it like not being at the church? And I'm like, well, I'm still a part of it, like, because the church is the people, it's not the building, and we're doing
Mm.
all of this stuff online, and so I'm still meeting up with the people, it's just in a different way. And it is, I think, really cool how all of the live streaming stuff has been happening, like all of the Sunday meetings. I think that's just amazing, the way that I think Steve has really organised that for us. Well done, Steve Gota, you are an amazing
Yeah.
man. Because it is just being able to have that live stream option has been able to help so many people, because I know you sometimes can't get to the meetings on a Sunday, because Lucian does rugby, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it would be a nice option, like going forward, so that
Mm.
so that you can still always be a part of the community. And it is
Yeah.
quite a nice way of seeing that's another way that we're evolving as a church.
And as well, sometimes when people are vulnerable or they're looking for something, then they go and search on internet. Okay? And sometimes what do? You check on Facebook, or you just, oh yeah, so, what does so-and-so looked at? Oh, and you click on whatever. And, one thing to another. You could, as much as you can be led to horrible things on internet, you can be led to as well some amazing things like worship and our church meeting and things. So it's
yeah, no, you can definitely. I remember, I mean, when I first started, I talked about church a lot at work, and I didn't realise how much I talked about it. And one of my colleagues went, "Oh yeah, no, I was down at the pub with Andy last night." I was like, "You don't know Andy," and he got a picture of Andy and Nikki and had forwarded it to me on our group chat, and I was so freaked out. I was like, "Oh my god, how?" And he had literally just googled because I was like, Open Door Church, Sunbury, Andy, found his Twitter, took pictures off of that, and was just sending them to me, like, to freak me out. But yeah, so if you are looking, like, you can find what you're looking for, like, with just a couple of Google images.
yes. So, and I think, like at the moment as well, when you think about it, the ESOL, the class,
Yeah,
which reached the Philippines and even bigger. I think if for some people it could be, shame to actually not able to speak or whatever, but there they could potentially, in the comfort of your own house, then maybe you don't have. Sometimes it's easier because you don't have the people face to face or something, and it could be good. I don't know.
yeah, no, definitely. I think there is a bit of, or like, there can be an anxiety when you're learning a new language because you don't want to be wrong. And at least if you're in your own environment, like, you're in a much calmer space anyway, because that's where you're at. And it is amazing how many, because I think they were saying, so they get the people in Sunbury, and then they get a couple of other people scattered around the UK, and then the Philippines, Colombia and Milan, I think, were another couple of places mentioned. I'm like, how?
Yeah, no, it's it's I think by showing, as much as church can be persecuted in different places in the world, you know, um, we have the opportunity to freely worship, and I think internet is a really good way to actually for people to start their worship or get curious and just go deeper and you know and get to learn about God. And I think the more we expose ourselves, the more we can make people understand that living with God is great.
Yeah. No, it is an amazing, I think, the way that we have been able to use the internet as a tool, to continue to meet and worship and figure it out. And sorry, there's a cat, really cute cat. Lost all train of thought there. But yeah, no, using the internet as a tool to, as you say, spread the message to the world, because we're not the only church that does it. I mean, a couple Sundays ago, Zoom went down because too many churches in the UK were trying to use it.
Yeah.
It is amazing when you do think about how this lockdown has enabled that side of it to take off, kind of thing.
I can't remember what's the name of the French philosopher who said the 20th century will be religious or it will not be. I can't remember who it was, but I think, somehow I was meditating on, on what he was saying, and I'm wondering, where does he come from with that thought and everything? And I was kind of coronavirus, who would have predicted that? And so on,
Yeah.
our circumstances, how God can raise from circumstances,
Mm. It is amazing when you think about, like, none of us could have predicted this apart from God.
Yeah.
And while we're still trying to figure out why, or asking why and what's going on and what's happening, like the different things that are happening with each of us within it.
I think so. I think probably, one of the things is people showing more their vulnerability, being truthful with their feelings, because when you have somebody who is not Christian or who is Christian, who tells you they struggle and everything, and like Nigel, when he did say, look, for me that day, I saw him under a different light,
Mm.
to say, well, actually, you could be a very long-term Christian, but still, you did go through with God. You could have given up, but no. And for me, that's really good.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was Nikki who said it to me once. It was like, being a Christian doesn't mean you're not going to go through a storm. It just means you're going to have someone is going to hold your hand through them.
Yeah. And it's really, I mean, for me now, it's quite a while. I did it before coronavirus, but I start with an app, where you have a Bible verse or some meditation to start with, and I start my day with that, and that gives me the tone of the day. I always refer back to it, and it's kind of I found that making more routine to have God in my life have really helped me.
I always end my day with a worship song. So for me, I'm not great at reading the Bible. Like, I've gotten better during lockdown than I have at any other point in, since I became a Christian. I think, or even when I started joining Impact and we read it once a week. That was when I looked at it. But I've always, and like, because a couple of the worship songs I think are really nice anyway, but I always end the day on that. Because for me, I always think at the end of the day, it's nice to give that over to God. So
Right.
I might try your
Yeah.
way, starting the day.
Start the day, so it gives you you feel energized, okay, and the presence of God throughout at the start of your day and throughout your day. I tend to finish off with a prayer, but maybe, and lunchtime, maybe I listen to some worship or something. It depends, but yeah.
So I'll start the day with the prayer. So I'll like to say a quick prayer to God. I'll say, thank you for the day before, and, pray for the day ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these are interesting. It's just fun learning how different people go through their relationship with God.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, since I came to Open Door Church, I've really think I've built my faith, and as well going to the Philippines was fantastic. To
Yeah.
know, to see, in England, you can always think that you can rely on yourself. Okay, when you're in the Philippines, well, it's where if you don't have God in your life, I don't know how you can survive. I don't know, because the conditions and everything, and people still have a smile and still enjoy, they just love it, and they just rejoiced, and they cried out to God for everything. And it's where you see, when we went to the Philippines the first, was it first? No, the second time with it was Julie and oh, I forgot, San. We were, we had taken the tuk-tuk there, or the jeepney, sorry, and we wanted to tip the driver, and we forgot. Okay, so we came out, and then Julie said, "Oh, I forgot to give it to him," and I said, "Oh, forget about it. We will have another way. God will give us another way to give that change to." And as we were walking down the road, we met a man who didn't have any shoes, and he had an eye who had, really, you could see he had, I think we asked him, and he received something in his eye because of a fight. And we were able, and he said to us, "Can you give us some food?" And so we went to purchase a burger or something from Julie's friend. So not only we were helping that man, but we were as well helping Julie, a friend of her. She had 2 years ago when she first came in the Philippines. And, the story was just, we couldn't believe it, that, it all went through like emotion. We're just, well, what's going on? And we pray for this guy and everything. And I was just, don't know if he was, if his eyes was healed or anything, but, I still have him in my prayers sometimes, I think about him, and I just think, because we were so grateful that he allowed us to pray. He was a Muslim, I think, and it was, it was amazing. So.
Oh, no, that's really cool.
Yeah, that was good time. Yeah, without God, you see, maybe I would have never gone to the Philippines, because we went to a mission. Without that.
He knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Valerie, and we'll see who I'm checking in on next time.